So you're thinking about moving to Virginia's beautiful mountains and valleys, and maybe even a town like Stuarts Draft. Well, in this video, I'm going to take you on a tour via a map of Stuarts Draft. I'm going to show you some of its neighborhoods, some of its industries, some of its places of business, and just get you a better idea about where Stuarts Draft is and what it has to offer. And if you hang around to the end of the video, I'm going to share with you some census data about Stuarts Draft, and I'm also going to share with you a current market report about Stuarts Draft so you'll understand the housing market here in Stuarts Draft a little bit better. So hang around to the end of the video because you don't want to miss out on that. But we're going to get started right now. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living, eating, sleeping, playing here in Virginia's mountains and valleys and in towns like Stuarts Draft, then click on that subscribe button and touch that bell icon so you can be the first to be notified about all the current real estate market here in Virginia's mountains and valleys. Hi, my name's Stephen Gleason along with my wife, Leslie, and we get phone calls and emails every day from folks just like you and you and you who are looking to make a move to Virginia. And we absolutely love it. So whether you're looking to move in 9 days or 90 days, just pick up the phone and give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email. That information's all in the description down below, and we'll be happy to help you make your move to Virginia's mountains and valleys and in towns like Stuarts Draft as smooth as possible. Now, as I said earlier in the video, today I'm going to take you on a tour of Stuarts Draft via a map. I'm going to show you some of its neighborhoods, some of its businesses, so you can get a better idea about where Stuarts Draft is located and what kind of town it is. But before we do that, I just wanted to share a little bit with you about the history of Stuarts Draft. Now, the history of Stuarts Draft is not some type of famous history out there, but it's a small little town and has a quaint little history to it, and thought you might be interested in it. So with that being said, the history of Stuarts Draft can be traced all the way back into the 1720s with Archibald Stuart, who lived in Scotland. Archibald Stuart was facing religious persecution in Scotland at the time, and as a result, he chose to flee that persecution and come to the colonies here in the New World. He originally settled in the western Pennsylvania area, but as a result of some different conversations and different promises, he moved down to the area near Stuarts Draft here today. As a matter of fact, Archibald Stuart participated in the building of the Tinkling Springs Presbyterian Church, which is right on Tinkling Springs Road. He lived about 3 miles east of there at a place called Walnut Grove, and that later it became the Pratt Farm in the late 1800s when it was purchased by the Pratt family. But he lived there, and there's still a historical marker there for that particular property. It wasn't really Archibald that the town really got its name from, although it is a family name, but it was his son Thomas who moved to the area, who was born here in the area, and he originally purchased some land from William Beverly, who had been granted land by the governor of Virginia at the time, and he purchased over 300 acres near the Stuarts Draft area, and he farmed there for many years. Well, the town didn't get its name actually until 1837, and in 1837, the town had become big enough where it needed a post office. And so a post office was established, but the question of where to put the post office was the question. And so they decided to put that in the now deceased Thomas Stuart's cabin in Stuarts Draft. Now, since then, obviously, the post office has moved, but that's originally where the town's first post office was, and the town was established in 1837. So that's the name Stuart, but how about the name Draft? Well, the Draft, it has several ideas about where that name actually came from, and one of them is that there was gentle breezes that blew up through the valley here, and so that's where it got its name. Another one came after a region near the South River of a flat plain that said it was a draft area, but probably the one that's most applicable, the one it probably came from, was that in the area where Thomas originally settled, it was located in a cove, which back in the day, they had a regional name, they called it a draft. So I guess the name just stuck, and that's where Stuarts Draft got its name from, and that's a little bit about the history of Stuarts Draft. So now, like I said, not real famous, but just kind of neat for a neat little town. So that being said, let's go ahead and let's get into our map video, and let's take a look at some of the things here on the map. Let's just jump right in there. So as we take a look at the map here, you're going to see kind of a unique shape of Stuarts Draft, kind of rather ambiguous looking, I guess you might say. But if we zoom out just a little bit here on the map, you're going to see a couple towns that if you've watched any of our videos that we've talked about in the past. Here's Waynesboro, and of course in the middle, or Stanton over on this side, and of course in the middle we have Fishersville here as well. We have videos on all three of those. Encourage you to take a look at those. Stanton and Waynesboro, of course, the larger of the two towns, or the larger of the three towns, or all four towns, including Stuarts Draft. That being said, in order to get to Waynesboro, you're going to go up Highway 340, and going to take you about 10 or 15 minutes, depending on where you are in Stuarts Draft, to get right here to Interstate 64, another 5 minutes or so to get to downtown. If you're going to go to Stanton, multiple ways to get there. Probably the quickest way is to go right outside up to Mint Springs and then hit Interstate 81 and go right on into Stanton. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out just a little bit more here and show you some of the other towns within the area here, and that we've talked about as well. We have Harrisonburg here in the north, and from Stuarts Draft, again, multiple ways to get there, but go out and cut up Interstate 81 and get to Harrisonburg. It's about a 35-minute drive, and then down to Lexington as well, another about 35-40-minute drive down to Lexington, right up and down Interstate 81. So fairly well centrally located with access to all of the towns and all of the things that you're going to need here in the Shenandoah Valley. Let's not forget about going over the mountain, though. I'm going to go over the mountain here and go into Charlottesville. Charlottesville is about 45 minutes away. We'll go ahead and zoom out here just a little bit more, and we'll see where it is in relation to some other places. And you can see here that we have, let's go back here and put a little circle around Stuarts Draft. And if you go up Interstate 81, you can travel up to Interstate 66, travel right on in to Washington, D.C. And that's about a 2-hour and 45-minute drive. About a 2-hour and 15-minute drive to Dulles International Airport right here. And then, of course, Reagan National, with its almost in Washington, D.C., is about a 2-hour and 45-minute drive as well. If you're going to Richmond, you're going to go ahead and you're going to cut down Interstate 64. You're going to hit Richmond. That's about an hour and a half away. And Richmond also has an airport as well. And that airport is about an hour and 45 minutes away. If you want to keep on going, if you want to go to the beach for the weekend, the beach is only about 3.5 hours away. So that's one of the really nice things about living in the Shenandoah Valley. You have all the niceties of mountain views and valley views and cooler weather than down in the flatlands of Virginia, but you have the beach within about 3.5 hours as well. So we'll zoom back here on the map just a little bit, back here to Stuarts Draft, just to give you an idea of Interstate 81 travels north and south up the East Coast for a long part of the East Coast. We've already mentioned that. And this part right here between Stanton and between Lexington actually is Interstate 81, 64. 64 continues on out through West Virginia, on out through the Midwest states as well. And of course, here is Interstate 64, and that goes all the way down to the Virginia Beach area. In here just a little bit, and as you can see, we've got Highway 340, which is the main highway that goes through Stuarts Draft. It'll connect you to Interstate 64, 81 on the west/south side, and Interstate 64 on the north/east side. And that's kind of neat, nice little triangle area there. So you got access to either one fairly quickly to get up and down Interstate 81 or to go over to Interstate 64. Of course, we've already talked about Tinkling Springs Road. That Tinkling Springs Road actually goes up into Augusta Health Center, up into Fishersville, and real pretty drive up Tinkling Springs Road. When it hits Stuarts Draft, it changes into Draft Avenue. Eventually hits 608. It changes its name to Cold Springs Road. But if you go this way on Highway 610, it becomes the Howardsville Turnpike. So those are some of the major roads that go through the Stuarts Draft area. I failed to mention the airports in the area here, though. Of course, we have the Charlottesville Albemarle Regional Airport northwest of Charlottesville. It's about a 45-minute trip from Stuarts Draft, and you'll have the main carriers there, American, Delta, and United. Have a few limited flights from JetBlue, and also there's another airline, a new airline that's opening up around the country. You may have heard of it, but they have Velo is opening there on May 3rd. There's another regional airport in the area, and that's the Shenandoah Valley Airport, located just east of Weir's Cave, and you're going to find connector flights there for mainly American Airlines, but there's also, you get a flight every once in a while from Air Canada, Caribbean Airlines, United, Virgin Atlantic, and British Airways as well. So obviously it's going to be a little more expensive to fly out of there, but if you need it, the times may be a little more limited, and it is very, very close, about 25 minutes from Stuarts Draft. Let's go back into Stuarts Draft here a little bit, and I'm going to change it over so we've got the satellite view. And the main part of Stuarts Draft is this section of town right here, right in the center of the Stuarts Draft area. And that's where you're going to find a lot of the original houses in the core of Stuarts Draft. There's actually the downtown, which sits right here on the railroad. And it's not a very large downtown at all, very, very small. Not a whole lot down there except for Miller's Bakery. And there's other places, but like I say, it's a very small downtown area. If we look at Highway 340, again, Highway 340 going right here through the middle of town, you can get an idea on Highway 340. That's where a lot of the businesses have moved out to, and where it's very convenient to get in and out of them. We'll just scroll in here a little bit and give you an idea, but I mean, we got businesses. We actually have an AutoZone and an Advance sit right next to each other. We got a grocery store here in town, the Food Lion. Of course, there's a Dairy Queen as well, and then there's don't forget the Donut Delight here, and a nice Italian restaurant right here in town as well. If we move on up the road here a little bit, like I say, it really is spread out along the Highway 340 corridor. And you see, as you go through town here, you get out to the edge, what seems to be the edge of town, and you got a Dollar General. Doesn't every store have a Dollar General in it anymore? But you have that, and then if you look at my vlog video, here's the Little Debbie store. You get some really great deals there. You get some really great deals on Little Debbie products. But then go all the way out here to the eastern side of town, and you're going to see another shopping center out here. You're actually going to find the high school and the junior high school up here, and another shopping center up in this area of town. So again, not a huge shopping place. There's, as a matter of fact, restaurants. There's a place here, a really popular place called Daps. They have hamburgers and ice cream is what they're really known for. Like I said, Stuarts Draft really doesn't have much of a town center per se. It does have a downtown, but it's very small. But most of it's growing up along Highway 340. And because it's growing up along Highway 340, it's eventually going to fill in. You see some of these spots where there are land that's still available. And so the town's going to continue to grow. As a matter of fact, the census in 2020 placed it a little over 12,000 people. And according to World Population Review, that number may be as high as over 13,000 now just in the last 3 years. So that being said, it's a growing town, and there's going to be a lot of things that come into the town as it grows. Of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention where I started out the other day, the cheese shop. Right here is the cheese shop just on the northwest side of town, and some really cool stuff in the cheese shop. If you're in the area, if you live in the area and you haven't been to the cheese shop, you got to go to the cheese shop. It's definitely worth a trip to Stuarts Draft to go to the cheese shop. Next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and take a look at some of the neighborhoods that we looked at in the video. And while it wasn't one of the neighborhoods that we looked at, just kind of want to remind everybody, this is kind of the downtown area here of Stuarts Draft. And the first neighborhood that we looked out here in the Ridgeview Acres, in the Forest Springs Estates, and there's another one here as well. There's the Meadowdale Estates as well. And most of the properties, there's a lot of homes. This is, as you can see by the size of it, this is the largest area of concentration of homes in the Stuarts Draft area. The average home in this particular neighborhood is going to run you from about $250,000 to about $400,000. Most of the homes in the Ridgeview Acres area were built in the late 70s, and in the Forest Springs Estate, they were built in the 1990s. After that, we went up to an area of town called the Overlook neighborhood, and you got to see some beautiful, beautiful views here in the Overlook neighborhood. This is mainly a new construction area. Matter of fact, they're still building houses there. Most of the buildings started there in 2010. and they have lots that are for sale, and you can work with a builder as well to build a house there as well. The Overlook neighborhood, you're going to be running about $300,000 to about $450,000. Now, it's not as large of a neighborhood, not even close really as far as the amount of homes goes as to the other neighborhood that we just talked about, but there's still some really nice new homes up there, and many of them have really nice views as well. The next neighborhood we went to was a very small neighborhood, but it sat right over here just inside the town lines, and that was called Cranberry Hills. And Cranberry Hills is basically a one street in and one street out neighborhood. There's a couple cul-de-sacs that go off of it, but the one thing about Cranberry Hills, it was really nice, although because there's a lot fewer homes there, there's 50 or 60 homes probably. They don't go on the market too often, maybe 2 or 3 a year, but when they do, they generally go very quickly. And one of the reasons is because it is a one-way in and one-way out. The road's about a mile long. And it is just a really nice neighborhood, a lot of larger lots in this particular neighborhood, at least a half acre of the lots and up to 1 or more acres there as well, with many different types of constructions from ranches to Cape Cods and brick homes and sided homes as well. And we looked at a home there, and the home that we looked at there was in the 500. It was 500. It sold for $515,000. But most homes in the Cranberry Hills neighborhood are going to run you from about $350,000 to $500,000. The final neighborhood that we looked at was over in this area of Stuarts Draft, a small neighborhood. Not a whole lot of homes there yet, but they're still building. Homes started building there about 2007, and they're, as I said, they're still building there today. The average price of a home in that neighborhood is going to run you about $500,000 to $700,000, but the homes there are very large. They have very large lots, like the small lots are an acre, and the larger lots are 2 or some of them even more than 2 acres of land. So plus there's some nice views there as well, and it really is it's very much of a country setting, and you have a lot of room. In most of the houses there, you have a lot of room between your neighbor, yet it's still a very friendly community and very neighborly, as well as I experienced whenever I go into that neighborhood. And of course, there are other areas in town where there are other neighborhoods and houses as well. And I'll throw this map up here. You can see the yellow circles show where the neighborhoods are that we took a look at. Now, but if you look on those red dots, those are all of the homes that are in or near the Stuarts Draft area. So you see there's other larger concentrations of homes within the area, and maybe we'll look at those sometime in the future, but give you an idea anyway of where the homes are. But one thing when I look at this map that kind of strikes me is if you look at the center of it, okay, you see where Stuarts Draft is, and then it seems like there's this ribbon that runs right through the middle of Stuarts Draft, and there's nothing there. Well, why is that? Well, that's a really good question that you asked. So in order to show you that, I want to zoom back in here on our map real quick, on our satellite map, and give you an idea of why that is. If we zoom in, here's the center of Stuarts Draft right here. But if you look, you're going to see a large area here, and it's mostly it's farmland that cuts through here. And that farmland does a great job of separating the neighborhoods. In addition, one of the things that Stuarts Draft is known for, it's actually been called the warehouse capital of the United States. It is a place where there are a lot of processing and manufacturing centers. As a matter of fact, there's 7 major ones in the town of Stuarts Draft, in a little town of 12,000 people. So while you may think, oh boy, this is a big industrial town, the one thing about Stuarts Draft is that it doesn't feel like an industrial town at all because of all the farmland that's around it. And you can look out around as well, the rest of Stuarts Draft. It's just a lot of farmland, and a lot of these little neighborhoods have propped up in different areas in the town of Stuarts Draft. But kind of to show you that as far as the businesses go, I'll zoom in here just a little bit more. And one of the things that we have here in Stuarts Draft, we have the McKee Food Corporation, and they are the ones that make the Little Debbie foods. And so if you've eaten a Little Debbie snack cake, it may have come from Stuarts Draft. As you can see right next to it, we have a Target distribution center as well. Now there's a neighborhood right here, and you think, wow, that neighborhood it's really close to those places. Well, it really isn't. I mean, I guess foot-wise it is or whatever, but here's an idea of what it looks like from the ground. I mean, I guess there's the Target distribution center way across the cornfield over there, and then McKee is down here. But like I say, you don't know that these industries are really even there. You see their trucks coming in and out of town, but you really don't know that they're there. Now, more of them are down toward the center of town. Again, here's this town center, and we've got Hollister, which is a production. They specialize in the production of medical devices here at Hollister. And then here's a great favorite of everybody's, that is Hershey's chocolate. Yep, right here in Stuarts Draft. We have a lot of chocolate here in Stuarts Draft. Keep on moving over a little bit further to the southwest, and you're going to find Ply Gem Siding. Ply Gem is a company that makes windows, doors, and siding, and they make the siding right here in Stuarts Draft. If I scrolled in a little bit more, it doesn't say it on here, but we have NIPCO. NIPCO is a flow control product production place. They produce valves, and fittings. And then right across from it, we have the Regal Rexnord Motion Control Solutions. And that is exactly what they do. They produce items like bearings, couplings, gears, okay? Not to mention here in Stuarts Draft as well, Stuarts Draft has two very large floral nurseries, I guess you would say, both of them located up here along Route 340, and huge, massive places where flowers are transported out of. And unfortunately, unless you are a distributor, you can't go in there, but just know that they're there, and just kind of a neat place here in Stuarts Draft. So, like I said, it's a community where there's a lot of warehouses, but very much it's also a bedroom community as well. So while Stuarts Draft may be a warehouse type town, you really don't get that vibe in Stuarts Draft that it is a warehouse town. You see the farmland that surrounds a lot of those manufacturing plants. And so you have that division there, and you just really, like I say, don't get the feel that it's a manufacturing town, especially as you're driving up and down Highway 340. You're going to drive, you're going to actually see farmland for a little while, and then you're going to go through and see a part of town, and it just gives you that rural vibe. Of course, you have the mountains to look at as well as you're driving through town, and much of the town is really an agricultural town. There's still a feed store here, and there's still a tractor place, and just a lot of that rural community, and a lot of the rural farmers in the area are Mennonite, and the Mennonites own a lot of business here in the area, and they do a really good job in some really nice places. The Cheese Shop, Miller's Bakery, all those are Mennonite-owned businesses, and it's just a really well-kept town as a result of the folks that live here. So Stuarts Draft isn't really a destination town because it doesn't really have a indoor part of it, but I'm going to share my map here again, and you're going to see that right out here on the edge of town. I always talk about golf, right? And so no, Stuarts Draft does not have a golf course, but I guess they got the next best thing. We do have a driving range here in Stuarts Draft. It is Bunker Valley Golf Range, and been there before. My son, my friends been there. Just a nice place to go out and to hit golf balls. Of course, if you want to go play real golf, you're going to have to go to Waynesboro and be a member at Orchard Creek, or you can go to Stanton and you can play at Ironwood Golf Course there, which is a semi-private course. They also have Ingleside, and they have Gypsy Hill. Of course, there's other courses up at Harrisonburg as well. So you might have to travel a little bit more, but somewhere, like I say, within 15 minutes or so, you're going to have a golf course. Now, when we're talking about ski resorts, we actually have, of course, I mentioned them in many of our videos, two of them go right back up the mountain from Stuarts Draft, and you get to Wintergreen Ski Resort, which we looked at in some of our other videos. You can take a look at those here, and you can find out what some of the amenities are in Wintergreen Resort. Additionally, you can go about 45-50 minutes north, and you can find Massanutten Ski Resort, which has, especially during the wintertime, it's a big hit with families. There's an indoor water park that's there, and both of those places have golf. Wintergreen and Massanutten have two golf courses as well. So there are definitely opportunities for golf out here, as well as the skiing. So there's a lot of activities as well. Of course, you have the Blue Ridge, the Appalachian Trail. And the Appalachian Trail, you can get on that just east of town here, and you can hike all the way to Maine or all the way down to Georgia if you like. So there's plenty of outdoor recreation. While it may not be right in town, there's a few little things, but while it may not be right in town, it's certainly around the area. There's plenty of recreational activities to do. But what about parks in Stuarts Draft? Are there any parks? Well, I'll go back here and I'll show you my map, and actually here in Stuarts Draft, I'll zoom in here real quick. You're going to see that really there's a couple baseball facilities, and but one of the parks in town, the park in town, is here. It is Stuarts Draft Park, and in Stuarts Draft Park, you can see there's a couple soccer fields, a baseball field, and matter of fact, down here there's actually a swimming pool, community swimming pool as well. Now, every year, some activities go on there. Every year, they have a couple different 5K runs that take place there. And if you come, or if you live here in Stuarts Draft, you'll know that in early June every year, we have draft days here at the park. And during draft days, it's a time of entertainment, musical entertainment, and there's also food trucks that are here in the park. There are pop-up play experiences. There's a rock climbing wall. There's an obstacle course. And at the end of the day, after the sun goes down in the summertime and a nice, cool Shenandoah Valley evening, most of the time they're cool, we have an outdoor movie that plays right there in the park. So kind of just a really neat thing here in Stuarts Draft. So what are some other things that you can do in the Stuarts Draft area? Well, one of the things that a lot of folks in the Stuarts Draft area like to do, they like to come over here to the Stuarts Draft Diamond Club and enjoy an evening watching the Stuarts Draft Diamondbacks play in the Rockingham County Baseball League. It's a summer league where many college players come to play during the summer, and within the league there's actually individuals that have, of course, graduated up into the professional leagues as well. But you can see a lot of the college players flood this and play this league, and there's another league as well here in the Shenandoah Valley. But if you want to see them, if the admission is free to games that are sponsored, to home games that are sponsored by a game sponsor, one of the local businesses. So a lot of the games are free. And you can watch them from the end of May to the end of July here in Stuarts Draft. Another place that holds an event every year is just out here on the east side of town, and that is Millmont Greenhouses. And you see that right here, the very large greenhouse, a very popular place. You go in there in May or in April, you're going to see a lot of people there getting flowers and plants. And but they have every June, the first week of every June, they host an annual rose festival there at their greenhouses. So that's kind of a neat place to visit as well. Back in Stuarts Draft, the volunteer fire department there, they've done a carnival in August. And finally, last but not least, Stuarts Draft also has a Christmas parade as well. And so Christmas time, folks get in their cars and parade up and down the street, just kind of a fun time to get out and be with the folks in the community. So that being said, at the beginning of the video, I told you if you hung around to the end of the video, I would share with you a little bit about the census information in Stuarts Draft and also give you an idea about a current market report here in Stuarts Draft as well. Kind of giving you a little bit of that as far as the average home prices in some of the neighborhoods in the area. And overall, that's pretty indicative of what you're going to find in Stuarts Draft. Usually anywhere from between about $200,000 and $700,000 is going to be the price of homes. But in looking at the census data here, you're going to see, first of all, that the population of Stuarts Draft in 2020 was a little over 12,000 people. And as I mentioned, it's growing very quickly. And really, Stuarts Draft needs to build more houses if it's going to keep up with its current growth. The population of Augusta County overall is about 77,000 people, of which Stuarts Draft has about 12,000 of those people. And the entire county, including Waynesboro and Stanton, is about 125,000 people. Stanton and Waynesboro are what we call independent cities here in Virginia, and so they have their own government facilities that they operate out of. One interesting fact about it, though, Stuarts Draft is the second largest county in Virginia in square miles. And one of the interesting comparisons, if you will, we'll take the state of Rhode Island. And I understand Rhode Island is the smallest state in the entire United States, but to give you an idea of the size of Augusta County here, Augusta County has 967 square miles, and Rhode Island has 1,034 square miles. Now, depending on where you go, you're going to get different figures. These figures come from the actual U.S. Census Bureau, and I'm sure there's different ways of measuring it. But if you look at this and you were to overlay Augusta County onto Rhode Island, Augusta County would take up about 93.5% of the entire state of Rhode Island. Now, I certainly know there's larger counties out there within the United States, especially when you get out into the western counties, but I just thought it was kind of a neat comparison to give you an idea of the size of the area in the Augusta County area. So going back to our census information as well, the next thing on our census is the population per square mile. And over that area that Stuarts Draft is spread out, it's about 400 people per square mile. And you can see Waynesboro and Stanton a little bit more densely populated. Of course, you get over into Charlottesville, even more densely populated. And of course, when you get out in the country, even outside Stuarts Draft, it gets even less than that. So it's not a heavily populated area. And that's why I say you really do have that rural feel in Stuarts Draft. Additionally, talk about some of the demographics age-wise. In Stuarts Draft, almost 20% of the population is over 65 years old. Compared to the United States, at about 17%, it has a little bit of an older population. However, when you look at the youth, folks under 18 years of age, that is just a little bit above the national average as far as the youth goes. So overall, it's right on track to continue growing from within the town as well. And then one final census statistic I want to take a look at is current owner-occupied housing in Stuarts Draft, and you can see that it's well over the national average. Most of the folks in Stuarts Draft own their homes, although there are some rentals in Stuarts Draft as well. Just going to be kind of hard to get into them sometimes if you need them. It's indicative of the entire area out here. So anyway, that's some of the census information. Now, here's a little bit about the current market. The houses that are on the market right now, as we talk, there's about they're listed at about the average listing at about $295 per square foot. That breaks down to about $176 a square foot. Right now, homes have been on the market and usually average of about 54 days of being on the market. And you can see down at the bottom that still most of the houses are selling or at least at their market value, which still really does make it still a seller's market. As I mentioned, most of the homes anywhere here in the area and in Stuarts Draft as well, if you have a home that is a nice home, it's well done and been well kept, and if you list it at a price that is competitive and fair, you're going to find that your house is going to sell quickly. Many of them are selling still even within a week. And while we don't have as many multiple offers as we did a year ago, we're still seeing multiple offers on properties here in the Stuarts Draft, Waynesboro, Stanton, Charlottesville area as well. As far as the average price of homes go, the average price, these are the houses that sold in the 24477 zip code over the last year, which is Stuarts Draft. And the average price of a home that sold last year was $321,000. And you can see how that breaks down into the average price of a 2-bedroom, 3, 4, and 5 or more bedroom home. Don't get all excited when you see the $35,000 home, the average range, because when you see a property like that, it's usually one of those that you're buying it for the lot to rebuild on. Not always, but those are very hard to come by. But you see that homes last year ranged anywhere from $35,000 to $725,000, and the average days on the market last year that they stayed on the market was 18, with a median of 6. That means there was a lot of homes that sold within that first week of being on the market. So like I say, things moved very quickly last year, and they're still moving quickly this year. So if you're interested in a house in Stuarts Draft, be ready to possibly be in a competitive market where you may be in a multiple offer situation, and just understand that going in and be patient, and you will eventually find a home in the Stuarts Draft area. I'm sure that you'll love. So I hope this video has been a help for you to get you a little bit of a better idea of where Stuarts Draft is in relation to some of the nearby towns and even in Virginia as well. And I hope it's given you a better feel for what it's like to live in Stuarts Draft as well. And Well, like I say, Leslie and I would love to help folks, whether they're moving into the area, whether they're moving across town. Sometimes, unfortunately, folks move out of the area, and or we'd love to help folks whatever their needs are. As a matter of fact, Leslie right now, she's not here. She's up selling a property that she has listed right now in the Harrisonburg area, helping some folks up there. So it really is our privilege. We really do find it exciting to be able to help people get into a home that they just love, or if they're moving across town, to move to a different home, or to upgrade in a home, or a first-time home buyer, or sometimes moving out of town, moving out as well into that next chapter in life. We just love to help folks whatever their needs are, to make sure that we provide for them the best possible experience that they can have in buying or selling a home. So like I always say, if you need help buying or selling, pick up the phone and give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email. That information is all in the description down below, because we truly do want to help you make your experience a successful and memorable one. But like I always say at the end of every video, until next time, we'll see you around town.